In an area known for UFO activity, animal mutilations, chemical weapons testing, and other strange phenomenon, lies an old cabin and station used for the Pony Express in 1858. What happens when you're investigating the spirit riders from the old Pony Express station and they answer your questions regarding the unusual activity? Did they know something back then that we didn't? Stay tuned. Mystery Media Group presents Case File 48.
You are listening to Mystery Media Group.
Yay! Hello, I'm Melissa with Ghost Girl Memoirs.
I'm Mike with Paranormal Treasure Hunter, and you are listening to Destination Mystery. We believe the paranormal is all around us, and every destination is an adventure. We never know what we're going to find in our adventure, but we do know that we'll have an interesting story to tell when we return. We're not going to the same locations or telling the same stories that you've heard over and over. Most of our destinations will be in locations you've never thought to look or investigate or explore. And we hope you will join us in our journey toward discovering the truth.
The Old Pony Express station is located at Simpson Springs, and it was established as an overland mail station by George Corpening. I'm not sure how you say that. And it was established for a mule train connection between Salt Lake City and Sacramento. And then it later became an important Pony Express station. It was also a Wells Fargo station. It didn't last for very long as a Pony Express station. The ruins
Less than 2 years.
Yeah. The ruins of the Anderson home, a little bit on that. Dewey, who was the gentleman, Dewey Anderson, who built the home for his wife, Clara. Clara was the daughter of the Pony Express rider, George Wright, who settled on Foss Creek in 1871. So that's why he was building the house for her out of the old Pony Express station, because it was her father who found the place.
Didn't know that.
She did die in childbirth on May 14th of 1895.
We went out there several years ago, Frank and I, to look for geodes. We went out past the Dugway proving grounds, followed this dirt road, and there was a pile of tumbleweeds. It had to have been 20 feet high along that fence and clear across the road. So we backed up and drove through that tumbleweeds. I know that's juvenile, but that was a lot of fun.
Did they stick to your car?
Oh, they were sticking out of the bumper, out of the radiator, everywhere. But
Can't believe
it was fun.
Tumbleweeds are out there.
Oh yeah, that's about all there is out in that area. But we were on our way to find geodes, and we drove 20 miles in, and we were only halfway there. We found a campground, so we decided to stay at this campground. And across the street is an old Pony Express station, which I didn't know was out there. What a horrible place to have to ride a horse for that far. It's pretty miserable on a four-wheeler, dry and dusty. But there was a little rock cabin. At one point, there was a watering trough for the animals, and at another point, some guy started to tear down the Pony Express station to build a little home for his wife, but she died in childbirth before he could finish it, so they never finished it. She never lived there. And then just 100 feet past that is a CCC work camp where they were out there working, building roads, and why they're building roads out there, I can't imagine, because it doesn't go anywhere except in more dirt and sagebrush and tumbleweeds.
I did find a little bit of information on that. So the CCC is a civilian conservative corporation company, something like that. And they were assigned to go out there to improve the roads.
To improve the Pony Express roads?
Because they had to reroute. I guess there was a highway that went through Dugway that they couldn't go through anymore. So they had to go around Dugway, reroute the highway.
So they weren't doing it for the Pony Express, but they're just doing it over the old Pony Express road.
I believe that's correct.
Because the Pony Express didn't last very long.
No.
As soon as they got the telegraph in, it kind of ended the Pony Express.
Yeah.
So they built swimming pools and gambling hall and all that stuff to build a road around Dugway. That seems excessive, but
that's the information that was on the website.
It's a conspiracy. Speaking of conspiracy, I got a short story. You want to hear it?
Yep.
This is from Alien Dave. When he was talking to us at a convention we were at last weekend, he was talking about on the news the Tooele police, the Dugway police, and military police, Sheriff's County, and one other set of policemen not too long ago, and this was in the newspaper, were called out on the proving grounds because they had an intruder dressed in all black. They never caught him. He outran them, but this intruder was big and in all black. And shortly before that, Alien Dave and his friends were tracking a Bigfoot up the side of one of the mountains right near Dugway. And he said that he followed their tracks. There's 2 or 3 tracks. They found a place where they were sitting and watching and observing. And that was the same spot they had seen, if I remember this correctly, they had seen some lights at night above that spot. And he talked about that was within just a couple of days of the policeman encountering that intruder on Dugway military base. So he suspects it was a
Bigfoot?
Sam Squanch.
Sam Squanch. Well, you wouldn't think of that area as being very squatchy, but there are a lot of cave systems out there.
There's a lot of cave systems up in the mountains. There is a lot of trees, and there is nobody out there.
Yeah, that's true.
You wouldn't think of a Squatch out there, but
who knows? I don't know. It's like the more you learn about that, the more questions you have. I mean, we always considered it to be a biological creature, but when you talk about the lights, which we've seen, and the weird things that happen when, I don't know, I won't go into all that now, but that's crazy.
Yeah, it was fun to listen to. He spoke for an hour and a half, and we were just enthralled.
I've heard him speak before. He's pretty interesting. He has a lot of good videos on YouTube.
When you see him in the crowd, though, talking to people, you don't realize he just seems like regular Joe. What are we talking about?
The Pony Express.
Oh.
I mean, that goes along with some of the, well, we'll get into that when we go through some of the audio, but so we went out there to investigate the Pony Express station and then the remains of the Anderson home. But then we also got some weird responses on our spirit box and EVP when we were asking about strange lights in the sky and stuff like that, because that area is known for having a lot of UFO activity. A lot of weird things go on Dugway. We asked a few questions and got some weird answers. Let's do some EVPs from the cabin that we investigated.
Before we get into that, I don't know if you remember that the second tower we came across. It was another Pony Express station. Nothing was there but the monument.
Yeah.
It took us, 15, 20 minutes to get there?
Yeah.
So it took us 15 minutes, and it took them, half a day? And can imagine how many they had to have.
Yeah.
From here to Sacramento. Good grief.
I mean, it's so barren and dry, and there's nothing out there. It was like the only thing I could think of that they would know how they would know where they were going is the mountains. But even to a certain point, they kind of go away. But I guess if the mountains are behind you, you're headed in the right way. I don't know. There's just nothing out there.
I'm thirsty just talking about it.
And you can't drink out of the Salt Lake.
No.
I mean, there's a few small bodies of water, but nothing major.
Well, springs didn't look too appetizing either.
No, and they weren't very big. Maybe they were better back in the day.
Maybe.
We did a spirit box and an EVP session at the cabin, the Anderson cabin. And here are a few things that we got. Here's the first one.
Alvin, are you here?
I heard here.
Yeah.
Here's the next one.
Did you build it for your wife?
People.
So I heard people this first time, which you acknowledge.
Did you build it for your wife?
People.
So the first one says people. I don't know what the second one says. Any clue?
No. I imagine that people that were traveling through also stayed at those.
Probably. So maybe it was also for travelers. I mean, not like there's any place else to stay out there.
No. At Fort Cove there in Utah,
Uh-huh.
any traveler that was going through got to stayed there. So yeah, it could very well have been. I'm sure those old guys would die for a night conversation with somebody other than their horse.
Yeah. After a while, it would get kind of tiring to just be talking to your horse. All right, here's the next one.
Did you have any other children?
It was kind of weird because as we started talking about the family members, the temperature gauge kept going off. So that's what you hear in the background, the little beeping.
Did you have any other children?
I hear like two male voices and either a child or a female voice. I'm not entirely sure what they say.
Any other children?
First one sounds like yes.
I heard yes, but yeah, the other two I don't know. Probably something like dang kids or something like that.
Almost sound like denied, but that doesn't make sense.
Well, that's kind of what I heard, but it didn't make sense either.
I don't know. All right, here's the next one.
We're sorry to learn about what happened to your wife. Did your baby survive?
I heard no, and I tried to find information as to whether or not their baby survived after Clara passed away, but I couldn't find anything. So I don't know if the baby died too. And I don't think the sign out there said either way.
I don't think it did either.
But it sounds to me like a no.
We're sorry to learn about what happened to your wife. Did your baby survive?
I almost hear no and abort.
How often did the baby survive in those time periods? It couldn't be very often.
I wouldn't think so, especially if mom was having a lot of complications, but
Yeah.
I couldn't find out for sure whether the baby survived. Here's the next one.
Was she excited about the cabin?
Horrible.
Was it a horrible experience for you?
So that last one said horrible, and you repeat it, Michael. And then I asked, was it a horrible experience for you? And I heard yes. I'm going to play the whole thing one more time.
Was she excited about the cabin?
So I hear a male say no and then a female say no.
Horrible.
I'm going to assume they were initially excited about it, but I mean, building anything out there would have been horrible.
That second day when we were riding four-wheelers,
Yeah.
I mean, we're riding four-wheelers, then I got, you know what? We're going home. This sucks. It's too hot. It's too dry. And we were riding four-wheelers, my favorite pastime.
Right.
Imagine carrying rock and building a house in that weather. No.
Yeah. It would not have been fun, especially back in the 1800s. Like it's not like they had trucks to haul the supplies and everything. That was a lot of back.
You wouldn't even have a cold drink of water.
Nothing.
That'd be awful.
So although it sounded like a good idea at the time, maybe it wasn't.
It was cool and it was in the evening. Yeah, this will be great. No.
And then you get out there during the day. Nope.
I'd rather get a tarantula hair in my eye.
Oh, no way. That was horrible. That hurt so bad. I've never had anything like that before.
That's crazy.
I know. Next time we go out there, I'm wearing goggles. All right, here's the next one.
We're just trying to find out about your cabin here. What made you decide to build it?
I almost hear a me and it sounded like a woman.
I was going to say it was his wife's idea, but
I'm not sure though. And then you hear the temperature alarm going off too in the background. Maybe it was the wind making it go off, but it was kind of coincidental that every time I asked a question, it started going off and then it was quiet when I didn't ask
yeah.
a question. So that was kind of weird. All right, here's the next one. This was before we knew what her name was.
What was your wife's name?
I do hear Clara right here. Clara.
Yeah.
Clara, bless you. Play the whole thing again.
What was your wife's name?
I hear Clara and then bless you. All right, here's the next one.
Were you from Utah? Were you from Utah?
I hear a 2-syllable word, but I don't know what it says. There's the last one from the cabin.
Would you be willing to talk to us and answer a few questions?
So you hear the temperature alarm go off, and then right at the end, you hear a male, but I don't know what he says.
Sound like Morse code.
Yeah, Morse code.
Would you be willing to talk to us and answer a few questions?
Maybe it was Morse code.
Well, they were military people out there. And that's how they telegraphed too, wasn't it? Same Morse code. We've got to learn that. We keep saying that.
Because we've gotten it a couple of times where it does sound like Morse code, but I mean, the only thing I know is SOS. I wanted to give a little bit of history about Dugway, and then we can go into the Pony Express station EVPs that we captured. How far away would you say this is from the entrance to Dugway Proving Grounds?
Exactly 20 miles.
Oh, 20 miles. So it's not that far. And you can see the city of Dugway.
The whole range is not that far away from us.
No.
The entrance is 20 miles away, but other end of it's a mile or 2, 3, not very far.
Yeah, it wasn't very far. You could see some of the buildings from where we were at. The Dugway Proving Grounds were located just a short distance from the Pony Express station. It is an Army test and evaluation center, and it was established in 1942 to test U.S. chemical and biological weapons in a secure and isolated environment. It is also used by Army Special Forces for training and preparation for deployments to the war in Afghanistan. It encompasses, get this, 801,505 acres of the Salt Lake Desert. That's a lot of land, and that's bigger than Area 51. In fact, it's bigger than the size of the Transcontinental Lincoln Highway passed through the present site of Dugway and is the only section of the old highway that is now closed to public. During World War II, a German village and a Japanese village were built to test the firebombing of homes of that type in these areas. On September 8th, 2004, the Genesis, a NASA spacecraft, was directed to impact into the desert floor of Dugway because the topsoil there is like talcum powder or moon dust and would likely cushion the troubled spacecraft's impact. The Genesis spacecraft's accelerator was installed backwards, which causes spacecraft to malfunction upon re-entry to Earth's atmosphere, preventing the originally planned air retrieval. Another incident that occurred out there was on January 26th of 2011. The Dugway Proving Ground was placed on lockdown. There was about 1,200 to 1,400 people at Dugway at the time that the lockdown occurred, and it was later announced that the lockdown was in response to a temporary loss of a vial containing a nerve agent that they couldn't find. But once they found it, it was lifted. It was a day later before anybody could leave or come in. Dugway was also home to a range telemetry and tracking radar installation, which is an isolated area within Dugway known as the Granite Peak installation. The high-resolution Fly's Eye cosmic ray detector, which discovered the first ultra-high-energy cosmic ray. A U.S. Army Chemical, Biological, and Radiological Weapons School is out there, and the Project Bellwether, a study of weaponized mosquito spread infections, is something that they have been working on. They also had a ranger school for a short time out there for desert training. There have been at least 1,100 chemical tests including the sheep incident that occurred in March of 1968, where 6,249 sheep died in Skull Valley. The sheep were found to have been poisoned by, I don't even know how to say this, organ sulfate chemical. I don't know what that is. And this coincided with several open air tests of the nerve agent that they lost later on. And a total of 500,000 pounds of nerve agent were dispersed during open air tests when they did this. There were also tests at Dugway involving other weapons of mass destruction, including 328 open air tests of biological weapons, 74 dirty bomb tests, and 8 furnace heatings of nuclear material under open air conditions to simulate the disposal of fallout in case of meltdown of the nuclear reactors. So Dugway Proving Grounds has been labeled as the new Area 52, and strange occurrences happen frequently. Just ask Alien Dave, who has tons of UFO footage on his YouTube channel about the place. Some of the strange occurrences include the UFO and UAPs seen in the sky above the base, also massive lasers being shot into the sky, a strange mist that appears around the base, animal mutilations, and animals that look different on base than anywhere else in the world. And we did see some weird looking antelope.
Alien Dave was also, I forgot to mention this, talking about the weird weather that rolls in to Dugway.
Yeah.
And we were sitting there on our four-wheelers, and this wall of black rolls in with two tornado-looking clouds that started to come down. And we should have rolled right through the middle of that, and the weather never got us. We got a sprinkling of rain, but that weird weather pattern it went on either side, but it never got us. He was talking about how the weird weather comes in like that, and that's when they bring in their spacecraft and stuff like that, that the alien technology that we've used to make our own spacecrafts and stuff. They use that weather or make that weather to bring those in. So I thought that was very interesting.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that before. And a lot of people speculate that those weird lasers that they shoot into the sky cause some sort of atmospheric phenomenon that creates the clouds and the lightning and thunder and everything, so they can kind of manipulate the weather a little bit in order to get the craft in and out without people seeing them. That's the theory.
I also wondered if it was like a radar or a beacon so they could find their way through all that to know where to land.
Could be that too.
That brings to mind one other story. I solved a mystery while I was out last weekend.
Uh-huh.
In Skinwalker Ranch, the episode where they see behind the butte that funny light show.
Yes.
Where I found out what that was.
What is it?
Because I witnessed it while I was there, and I couldn't believe I was seeing it. But if you go out there during the daytime, there are natural gas wells or oil wells out there. And at night, sometimes they burn off the excess fuel.
Uh-huh.
And some of those areas were lit up like day. And we left the convention around 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and we're driving through the desert. And all of a sudden, one of those buttes lit up, just like on that show. And I'm like, holy cow, look at that. This is it. This is it. And then we kept driving and driving, and I was getting so excited. Then we came around to the backside of it, and it was one of those oil wells was shooting off flames. I mean, huge flames, but it was so bright it lit up like a city full of lights. But it was behind the butte when I first saw it, and it was exactly the same. Did you hear about the meteor that crashed between Idaho and Utah last weekend? Utah?
I heard it.
You heard it?
Yeah.
Well, we were sitting there eating breakfast, and it went over our heads.
Did you?
It went across. We didn't know what it was at the time, but
yeah, I forgot about that. That was crazy.
I did too.
We were out in Bear Lake, and we had gone to the grocery store that morning. And Chris, he specifically went to the grocery store to get sunglasses. And we got out to the Razor, and he forgot sunglasses. So we got everything but the sunglasses. So
yeah.
I stayed in the Razor to play on my phone while he went into the store, and I heard this big boom, and I was like, it sounded like a sonic boom. It had been forever since I'd heard one. We talked about that not too long ago. I was like, that's weird. And then we got the notice on our phone that people who had heard that boom, it was the meteor coming through the atmosphere.
Yeah, it flew right over our heads while we were sitting there eating breakfast.
Crazy. It could have flown over mine. I didn't see it, but I sure heard it. So, anyway, I talked a little bit about the history of Dugway because we asked some questions in this EVP session about it, and we got a couple of weird responses. So, I'll just play them in order that I have them. We did this session in the old Pony Express station. Okay, here's the first one.
Can you tell us where the German towns are? You say north? Is it something we can get to?
So I asked if they could tell us where the German towns are, and we got the response north. And then I asked, did you say north? And is it something we can get to? Because I've heard that there are still some structures out there and I really want to see them, but I don't know that it's in an area where any civilians can go.
Not likely.
But I would love to see them.
Yeah. Do German buildings and Japanese buildings blow up differently than regular buildings?
Well, I think they built them out of the construction materials that were used in Germany and Japan because they wanted to make sure that whatever weapons they were testing would demolish them.
Wood and concrete? I mean,
I don't know. They're there, and there's pictures of them online.
Yeah, I've seen a few pictures. I'd love to go out and look at them.
Me too, but I don't know. You can't. It doesn't really say where any of them are. I'm assuming they're all on base, and you can't get to them.
Well, you can't find them on Google Earth either. They've scrubbed the. You can see the golf course in their hotel, but you can't see anything else.
Yeah, and it's a no-fly zone for long ways out there.
There's probably lots of unexploded ordnances out there too, I would imagine.
Oh, I'm sure. All right, here's the next one.
Did you move your family out here?
So we thought we had gotten a response from Pony Express rider, and I asked if he had moved his family out here, and it does sound like he says yes.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the next Pony Express question.
Did you work for the Pony Express?
That was a yes.
That was a very clear yes.
Yeah. And then I asked previously, did you have any family? Did you move your family out here? And it sounded like yes. So I asked this question.
How many children did you have?
And I hear 6. You'll hear the temperature alarm go off right after that.
I think that was the Morse code for 6.
Could be. But to me, it sounds like 6, which is about typical, I would think, for that era.
Yeah.
Here's the next one.
Were you the one building a house out here?
So I asked if he was the one building a house out here, and I hear a no. I'm going to play it one more time.
Were you the one building a house out here?
Here's one about the Army.
Were you in the Army?
You can hear the temperature gauge.
Were you a soldier?
And I think the reason that I kept that clip is there aren't any EVPs or anything on the spirit box, but the temperature gauge does sound like Morse code.
Were you in the Army?
Were you a soldier?
Don't you think?
It does. I'm no expert on Morse code, but sure sounds like it.
We need to figure out how to read it. Okay, so then I ask this question.
Is there anybody out here that works for Dugway? Did you drive truck?
So I'm going to play it one more time. You'll hear the temperature gauge going off. Sounds like Morse code again.
Is there anybody out here that works for Dugway? Did you drive truck?
So I said, is there anybody out here that worked for Dugway? You hear the temperature alarm go off and then you hear truck. And I said, did you drive truck? And I hear a yes.
Is there anybody out here that works for Dugway? Did you drive truck?
The end was a clear yes. And then here is the question I asked about the lights.
Have you ever seen any strange lights in the sky out here?
I thought that was kind of weird. It sounds like a yes, but then all of a sudden we get a big static burst.
Have you ever seen any strange lights in the sky out here?
Just thought that was strange. But I do hear a yes.
Oh, it is strange. Play that last bit one more time.
And in looking at the video, I don't have anything, because sometimes when my phone gets close to it, it'll do that. But I hadn't moved.
That sounded like something from Science.
I do hear yes, and then blah, 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 blah.
That was the aliens talking.
I did find it interesting that we got a few answers about the Pony Express and the house, but I was not expecting to get any answers regarding Dugway or the strange lights in the sky.
No.
But we did.
No. The last time I was out there, it was 10, 12 years ago. And ever since we started doing this, I've wanted to go out there and just to see what we would come across, because I doubt anybody's ever done anything like that out there before.
Right.
I was very curious.
Me too. I was also hoping that we would have seen strange lights in the sky that night, but the weather was crappy. We couldn't see anything. I mean, the weather wasn't crappy. It was actually quite perfect because it was overcast and wasn't too hot, but you couldn't see the stars or anything in the sky.
We saw two twin sisters, twisters.
That's right. We did.
I mean, how many you ever seen that in Idaho or Utah?
Well, you don't. I mean, I've maybe seen a funnel cloud. I can probably count on one hand how many times I've seen a funnel cloud here, but never two at the same time.
No. And not experience any kind of wind or real weather.
Yeah.
Other than a little sprinkling. I mean, it looked bad enough that I moved my truck off of a muddy road just because I didn't want to get stuck. And we didn't get hardly any weather with it. So
I was expected that we were going to get caught in a really heavy storm. We'd have to find a cave or something to run into, but nothing major. That was our trip out to the Pony Express and Dugway. I thought it was a lot of fun. We had a really good time four-wheeling out there and looking for weird shit.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about all those nerve gas experiments in Skull Valley, because that's where we camped, Skull Valley.
Oh, yeah. That's where all the sheep died. I had a friend.
No wonder I had weird dreams.
Yeah. I had a friend that I worked with years ago at the hospital, and he was stationed out there during his military days. And he said that the stuff that they tested out there, he said he would, even in Logan, it was too close and he wanted to get away. So there's been some weird things tested out there. And I know back in the day, it wasn't real ethical either, because there was a lot of women dying from breast cancer that had been exposed, things like that.
Is that why my pee glows at night?
Is that why what?
My pee glows at night now.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
For being out there.
Yeah. Apparently they have radioactive spiders or something that can shoot their butt hairs into your eyeball.
That was a hell of a shot.
Hell of a shot.
That was a hell of a shot.
What in the world? I've never experienced that before.
Stormtroopers can't shoot that well with laser guns.
If you enjoy our show, please like, subscribe, and leave a 5-star review. For more information, you can visit www.destination-mystery.com. Find your own destination
and solve the mystery.